Waste is an unforgivable crime. You cannot put it any place. There's no place available for waste. We have to produce a product. Every cell above every system of cells has to produce a product for that system of cells. For we are responsible, as far as we're concerned, we cannot produce enough generations under that conditions in that time zone of that particular product to warrant using it. Everything we use in our lifetimes and how long it takes us to produce and raise another family and another family has to come within that zone. It has to complete back into the cycle in that zone. And it's not going to do it. If you're using a piece of iron, it will go back into the soil, usually, and be back in the chain in a position to be used again in a safe time. It doesn't harm the environment. But if you use a piece of plastic, it's going to pass that time zone that the other part of the action needs it. And when it does, what are you going to do? You're going to create waste because it's going to be a backlog, and there's waste. That is wrong. That's wrong. The whole picture comes down to us being in harmony, and we're not in harmony. And producing something that we don't know how long or what it takes to get it back in. Now, we can have our plastics, but we have to be responsible enough to get it back into the system. You can have your nuclear radiation. You can have all of it you can take. But as long as you have the intelligence to get it back into the system, burying it in a rotten barrel is not going to put it back in the system. It's not going to put it back where it was. You have to put everything back where it was. You see? You have to put it back into the ground. When you eat turnip greens, you put them back where they were. Except people live in the city. They put it back where it wasn't well. That's one of the problems. We put it back into our system, put it back in the drinking water. It never was. See, you can't put it there because there's nothing there to use it as a product. See, and safely, it's going to get sick because it can't produce a product from it. If a fish eats feces, he's going to come up with sores, and that means that he is not producing product from what you did. So, if yes, you can have your plastics, but now you have a responsibility. See. Don't limit your argument to the fact that, yes, it came from the earth, and yes, we can use it, and yes, it is a good product. Yes, it's good if it's good, but it's not good because you don't know how to put it back in the system. So there's no reason to sit and say, okay, I'll make an argument on this point. Don't make an argument on a point. Just say it goes back in the system here in a reasonable amount of time, and I know how it gets back in the system. Then you have the knowledge, the complete cycle of knowledge to use that product. You can use wood if you know how it gets back in the system. Okay? Now, if you're going to cut the tree down and use the space to put down some concrete, now you cut off the system because immediately the seed cannot grow in concrete. You broke the system. You see? But if you take the seed, let the seed get back to the soil, or you put another plant in its place, then you have respected the earth. You respected its system, and you have a right to take. But you can't take something you can't replace. You have no right to do that. It can't replace itself, and you can't replace it. Then you have no right to take it and use it because it's what limited time you're going to be here and how many times you're going to use it or are able to use it. It's not going to justify what you've done. Since the basis of what we're doing with herbs has to do with the step above it, which would be the earth, and the use of the herbs would be the step in between, and the step afterwards, which would be back to the earth. Let's go with the earth to give ourselves a relative position in relationship to the earth. It's very important to remember this. First of all, because of the laws of our body and the laws of the earth itself, we are not divorcing ourselves from our responsibilities to one another. I think a lot has been done to document that we should be able to live peacefully together. But we also should live peacefully with the earth and with our bodies. We can't divorce ourselves from these laws, so we might as well learn them. The earth gives of itself by using the products that are in the earth, in being triggered by the need of things that depend on the earth. So we become the triggers or use these things that are in the earth. Such as we would have a tremendously hard time getting all the beautiful meat that we find inside of a watermelon out of the soil on our own. Yet it's in there. It's in the soil. It's in the soil, and it may be mixed with the manure. It may be mixed with the human excretions. It may be mixed with, as a matter of fact, each one of these things are named, since they are products, have all the things in the making for every food that we have. They produce a product by getting together and producing a product through the actions of our need. We trigger. So we have to be responsible. And so that when we come back to the soil for these same needs again, they'll be there. If we are going to continue to assume that we can produce waste, or we can put waste into the soil, or that we can badly manage the action of our lives, and still go to the soil with that watermelon seed and get a product, then we're badly mistaken, because that's breaking the laws of the earth. And we are running out of space very quickly trying to use that particular action. We're running out of space where there are these things in the soil because we are not putting them back. We're dumping them into our water. We're taking down our trees, our rainforests, and we're filling in our estuaries and other things that cause this tremendous action to take place. We have no right, not just for our future generations, but for our present generations, to continuously do this. We say, well, we do them, and we make up some silly excuse about economics. But once we use the economics as an excuse, and whether it's a factory or whatever, and we produce a piece of waste, not only is the waste itself is going to re-enter this area, but then the byproducts of what we produced are going to re-enter this area. And the cleanup is going to be economically embarrassing. Most chemical companies have to leave town because they cannot afford to clean up their waste. We can't afford to clean up waste. No one can afford to clean up because you can't really do it. You can't really clean it up. There's no place to put it. We only interfere with the active laws of the earth. Now, going back to that seed, we would like for the future generations to be able to put that seed in the ground, and that seed can rely on what's there to produce what it has on demand, hidden within its secrets of its development, a watermelon. Then when we get to watermelon and eat the watermelon, we can, our bodies can take the substance of the watermelon and use it to produce great products for the greatness of our bodies and the animals around us, and return it to the soil in the same manner and with the respect that it deserves. We have to learn this. We have to make it a religion. Religion should be based on that. Religion should be based on how peaceful we can coexist with our own selves and with the earth that we stand on. Not that we have to go trying to coexist with each other. We cannot coexist with each other and continuously breaking the laws of our existence. We're going to live in fear. And any man that is controlled by fear, any woman that's controlled by fear, cannot be trusted. The fact that we develop laws and weapons instead of tools and earth understanding is a sure sign that we're living with fear. And the low controls that we put on and the excuses we use in the face of fear, then we have other people that we have to kill. We have other people we have to hate because we do it out of fear. We do it to fear that we're going to be annihilated. They're going to do it to us. We do it to them first. All this is because the product before has broken down. Our relationship to the land broke down long before the breakdown of one human being in a relationship to another. And we talk as if we can start with man. We cannot start with man. Each man has to start with himself, but before that, you have to start with the soil. If we respect the soil and respect the water, there's not too many people that are going to find any problems in getting along with us. It's only when that law is challenged that we have a problem in living, problem within ourselves, emotional problems, tissue problems, living problems. And then we have after we break these laws, we have the nerve to say that we're sick, and it's whatever we serve God's will that we be sick. It is the laws we broke that we are now paying for. These laws are built into our existence. So let's go back to the soil. The soil needs a product. It needs the breaking down, the rotting. It needs the rotting of existing. It needs everything back that it loaned to us in our crystal stage. It needs it back. There's no way, there's no justification for making products such as plastics and other things that does not render itself back to the soil in the time zone that would preserve the balance in man, or any other thing, or the products we use. We have about a 70 to 100 year span, and it should take, we should put back in that period of time the same amount that we take away from the soil, therefore maintaining our responsibility to the soil. We have to address this very, very rapidly. We have to address it because we cannot get rid of this waste. This waste is going to be here. We're going to have more deserts, more fighting for land, because we cannot use the land in its normal manner. Anytime land cannot be used in its normal manner, then you're going to have problems. Technology has tried to excuse this and come in its place, such as build dams to flood and irrigate the desert. But what happens is you raise the level of the salt, and in a few years you can't raise anything there. We're all responsible for these laws. We have to return it to the soil. It has to have it back. And in our bodies, it is the same thing happening. We eat a sandwich, and there's certain enzymes in our mouth, as we call them, that needs the simple sugars. But the simple sugars are used in order to keep itself alive, but it also produces a product that passes right into our bloodstream. The blood vessels don't make blood. They just don't do it. They don't make blood tissue. So the system above that, which would be the long bones in the body, they make the blood. Now, they don't use the blood. The blood vessels, you need the blood in order to stay pliable, to deliver and do its job. And the tissues of the body need certain points of the body. But everything in the body is using a product. And everything that leaves the body is a product. And everything that goes back to the soil has to be a product. And that's the law we're going to have to follow. We're cancer when we do that. We can't keep gouging raw materials out of the ground without giving some respect as to how long it's going to take to put this back. And what are we using it for? And what we're using it for, it doesn't put it back. These are laws that we're going to have to obey. And we can talk about, Earth Day, and we can talk about our bodies and as a separate entity getting sick or being well if we want to, but we're only going to fool ourselves if we don't go by this law. And the laws of peace, they have to follow the same laws. Because if you respect the land, you respect the water, you're going to be very peaceful to live with. I don't want to alienate anyone by what I said. What I'm proposing is that we completely finish even our cycles of learning. For instance, if we're going to have chemists who are always putting chemicals together, then that open up another world. We should have chemists who are master chemists, who know how to take things apart. I don't think we should spend our time praising people who can only put things together for use and not recognize the earth. The only thing I'm saying is continue to have whatever it is that you need. The body uses chemicals. Plant uses chemicals. There is a point that it has to be responsible. That's all I'm saying. If anything I'm saying is worth listening to, the part about it being a responsible act is very valid. How can a person continue to say, well, I'm a chemist, for instance, or I'm a builder, or you are not going to be anything if this continues. Or I'm doing this and it's not profitable to clean up my mess. Can we take one site where chemicals were made, for instance, in any part of the country, match the actual net profit that this corporation produced, and then put it against the net loss that it's going to have in cleaning up its mess, the city, county is going to absorb, plus the deaths, irregardless to how many people get up and try to address these deaths as being unfounded, not proven, or whatever we want. We know it's an unnatural act. It's extremely unnatural to put these things in these positions because we don't recognize the crime that we're committing. We are interested in herbs being a part of our society, but we have to start with the earth to get good herbs. We're running out of space to get clean water. We're talking about cost. Cost. What's going to happen when water costs $10 a gallon? What's going to happen? And that water still is not clean. How many areas of the country today can we get water without finding traces of fecal matter? And knowing that the human body is not designed to digest fecal matter from another human being. We have diseases today, such as flu. Flu is not a human host bacteria. Flu is a bird bacteria. It comes from the birds. What's happening? Why is it feeding itself into the human chain? Why do we have over 100 million people suffering with flu around the world? We're getting rid of habitats. We're forcing birds. We're forcing the bacteria that they host without any aerial effect to end up multiplying. There's no birds to keep these bacteria in check. There's if we're going to get rid of these habitats for these birds, it's because we feel like it's not profitable. When people has the flu, what's the loss? Not only in human suffering and human lives, which is very, very critical, but financially, what's the loss per year? Can we just justify one person out of over 100,000 people making a profit and over 100,000 people suffering so that he can maintain that profit? It's better to live in harmony with the birds so that we don't have to suffer with the flu. It's better that we have an area that's virgin, that certain herbs can grow, because we need these herbs. We need them in a part of our bodies. We can't continue to treat symptoms. Every cell in the body produces a product for another cell. That's how the chain works, from the time you take in till the time you excrete out. That's not going to change. We may try to change it through our imaginary pipe dream world, but reality is it's not going to change. We do not make human bodies. We do not make animal bodies. We do not make Earths. There is no reason to continue this mad rush into self-annihilation without any thought given to the fact that we don't have to. And that's basically what I'm saying. We don't have to be sick. We don't have to be destroyed. We don't have to suffer. This suffering, this pain that we're going through is because we refuse to do those things which are harmonious. We're going to have to deal with that. Man also disrespects the laws of the earth by constantly looking for a leader, so he doesn't have to be responsible for what he does. No matter how rotten he is an individual, he said, well, but I got a king, I got a queen, or I've got a president. Somebody's going to take the blame. My minister taught me this, or my pope taught me this, or I got this from the Bible, or I got this from John or Luke or Matthew. Most of the things that we talk about in our daily living is we argue among ourselves about messengers, for instance. But all Muhammad, Jesus, all these people were messengers. You know, they were messengers. Whoever we perceive them from, they were messengers. And we even make up laws for our God to go by. You know, he only used certain kinds of people, you know, to do this, to send these messages by. And we believe that. If we would listen to the message, we'd understand that we fight about our messengers. One messenger is my messenger is Muhammad, my messenger is Jesus. Well, why don't we just open the mail and listen to instead of arguing over the mailman? Who's got the better mailman? What the life of the mailman? The life of the messenger is not your business. Let's open the mail. And the mail that you've got is what you're supposed to go by. You know, we're not supposed to celebrate, you know, we're in here celebrating our mailman's birthday. And we're fighting over who has the best mailman. Jesus is a better messenger than Muhammad, and the Pope is better. You know, we're talking about people who bring a message. Okay? Why not open your mail? Your mail is your earth. It's your water. How do you treat these things? How do you get along? You know, people are part of this earth. Plants are part of this earth. Open your mail. Stop arguing about your mailman. What John the Baptist did with the land, what did he do? Not what he said. What did he do? Then he would be your messenger. I mean, he would be your God. But you say, okay, he's not your God. We talk about all the people of years ago having all these false idols. My God, we got, how many do we have? You know, the messengers. Each one we call upon for a different message. Okay, listen to the messages. Open your mail, look at the earth, and say, okay, this is what we have. This is what was sent to us. This is what we have to work with. How do we work with it? Be intelligent. Let's go about it. If we live in harmony with what we find in the mail, we use the mail to follow those instructions, we have no problem. We don't have to fight about the mailman. We don't have to fight about the messenger Muhammad or the messenger Jesus or the messenger Frank or Leroy or whatever. I'm not going to fight over my mailman. I want to look at the mail. And basically this is what we have to do. We have to grow up and stop doing that. Each one of us is responsible for pollution. Each one of us is responsible for not knowing how our bodies work. We are responsible for not knowing how our bodies work. We cannot cop out and say, well, my doctor says, or that my therapist says, or my the waterman says, or, you know, each one of us are responsible for dirty water. Each one of us are responsible for an animal becoming extinct. And the bacteria that animal had, that he took care of, we are responsible. We're responsible that he's not here any longer to take care of that bacteria. We're here. We got to do something about it. We got to do something about it. We don't have to do something to each other. That's another thing. We have to do something where we stand with ourselves. We want to make as the song said, we want to make the world a better place. Look in the mirror and start there. We don't have to start down the street. We don't have to make any attacks on anybody. You know, all this attacking to improve other people. We're going to wash our hands in your blood. We're going to find us some sinners. We're going to do it. No, start with yourself. Start with yourself. Improve your relationship to land. Learn what you can about the land. Learn how it was when you got the letter. We have done everything that's despicable to the message itself, which is the earth. The first creation. We've done everything we can. Now we're trying to get in a better position to do it to the earth. We say we're doing it to each other, but that's not even respectful. We're not doing it to the earth we live on. Now when we finish doing this, we are going to be finished. Wait till man really reads his mail. Wait till he stops fighting over the mailman and reads his mail and find out that God is the earth. Wait till he finds out that God is the earth. Wait till he finds out that God is the earth. God is the water. God is everything to everybody. in a certain way. And those ways are many. But he's going to find out where God went to and where God resides. And when he finds out that the wind that blows in his face is the breath of God, then he's going to realize that all those little secret conversations, those little secret meetings, and those little secret plans to deceive, to hurt, and to destroy, and the disrespect that he had was for God. We are going to have to reapproach this thing. We're trying to place our God in the body of our mailman or our foreparents. Our foreparents did not make this earth. The earth created everything we can perceive. There in itself is a powerful statement if we would read the mail and stop running around on top of our mail, blowing each other apart, having a war, not caring how many animals we destroy in the name of some word that we feel that is necessary. If we don't respect the earth any more than we do now, we're going to have to develop a tremendous respect for the earth. It has to be treated as what it is. The earth itself is the best God that you're ever going to find. It provides life after life, opportunity after opportunity, and our total existence in the form that we are depends on our knowing that and doing that, and it continuing to work. It has to continue to work.